Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. I'm your host, the ghost hunting anarchist Christian Ross Pitt, and with me, as always, is your favorite homosexual tax evading Stalinist, Wizzy Puff.
You weren't supposed to reveal my crimes.
Oh, what? That you're a homosexual?
I was more referring to the tax evading part, but that too.
Oh, I meant sax evading. Like you hate the sax. Anyways.
Sex evading. The sex evading homosexual.
You could probably tell that I wrote that part out. I just thought that was so funny. When I thought about that like 5 days ago or something. Yeah, welcome back to this podcast that I introduced already. Today, we're getting back to SunLight Sliders by Amber Spark and several co-authors. Actually, I don't know how much Amber Spark actually has done in this.
That's a good point. Is Amber Spark actually a single author, or is that a group?
I think Amber Spark is a single author.
Okay.
I know they wrote the first one. So Amber Spark and several co-authors is what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, can't wait to get back into it. Last time, the girls, Twilight Sparkle and Sunset Shimmer, they went to this diner place or something with Rainbow Dash and Applejack, and they were ambushed by this character named Ayooo, whom I speculate is either a conjoined clone or like mashed together clone, however we would word this, of Twilight and Sunset, or perhaps their child from a different universe and the future.
Oh man, it's like the baby from the Super Monkey Ball franchise. Comes from the future to save his parents.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Super Monkey Ball lore, I guess.
Oh, there's so much.
That's some wild stuff. Yeah, so they get ambushed by Ayooo as she, they all start throwing punches at each other. And then they eventually get the better of her, then send her to a different dimension. As she comes back, and then they send themselves to a different dimension. And that dimension just so happens to have my boy, King Sombra. And it's around this time where I reveal to Wizzy the long and complicated backstory of King Sombra. And we spend about 8 minutes on that. And then Ayooo comes back, and then they have a bit of a talk or whatever. I can't exactly remember that much of it, but I suppose Ayooo is in a bit of trouble right now, and Sombra is trying to kill her now, or something like that, in Twilight Cares for some reason. Yep, that's what I remember. Yeah, Aeon's about to die in Twilight Cares. Let's see how that turns out. Wizzy, back to you.
Chapter 16, Space Jazz.
What a name.
Silence hung in the air as the four ponies looked at each other. At that moment, Twilight became hyper-aware of herself and her surroundings. Her heart raced, beating at her chest like syncopated drums. Her breathing was just as frantic. She looked to Sunset, who only returned a resigned look. Sombra chuckled. It was a low, gravelly sound that seemed to shake the ash beneath him. He glanced over to Ayooo, who was still wrapped in chains, and smiled. With a flick of his hoof, he tightened the magic bindings.
Let her go,
Twilight asserted, her voice nowhere near confident enough to be authoritative. Instead, it wavered, almost cracking at the sheer amount of sudden stress.
Why should I?
Sombra tightened the chains even more, and a pained squeal escaped Aeon's mouth.
She trespassed and tried to attack me. It's only fair that I retaliate.
She's just doing her job. We can make sure this never happens again.
Twilight gritted her teeth before looking to Ayooo for confirmation.
We can isolate this universe, right, Ayooo? No pony else would be able to come back here then. Then no one could come in and bother Sombra again, right?
Wrong.
Ayooo wheezed, the chains constricting her breathing.
It's like me. Right now, I think I'm having an asthma attack.
No.
Speaking of, no, if we could, why wouldn't we have isolated, shut every universe? Bureaucracy?
Sunset asked. The remark was dead on arrival. Aeon shook her head.
It's impossible. In both theory and practice, there's just too many. We tried once, and an isolated universe appeared right after. There's an alternate universe for everything.
Twilight racked her brain as sweat dripped down her forehead.
Think.
Brain blast!
Then we'll just disappear. We won't come back, and you'll be on your own again. It's the next best thing.
Sombra growled.
Grr. You think I want to be alone?
He snarled, and his eyes glowed with a dark energy. He stamped his hooves on the ground, which erupted into a cloud of ash.
I can't tell if the ashes by my hooves are those of a forest or the remnants of my army. I've spent aeons alone. Get
Aeons.
it? Aeons? This is my hell. This is my legacy.
Sombra's voice fell as he lowered his head into the ground like an ostrich.
It doesn't say like an ostrich. But yes, it is like an ostrich.
Only ash remains.
He's kind of sounding real old now, instead of just Bane.
Yeah, Bane kind of does sound old in The Dark Knight, though, because he's so sick.
Actually, it's The Dark Knight Rises, you idiot.
That's what I meant. I just shortened it because I'm a real Batman fan. Who shortens the title?
Then what do you call The Dark Knight, idiot?
You want to call it TDK?
The Detachable Kid? Thank you. That was the Suicide Squad reference. Not Suicide Squad, but The Suicide Squad. The James Gunn movie.
Nice. Is it a reference to The Dark Knight?
A reference to Arm Fall Off Boy or whatever his name is from the comics, but if those were comics or not just something else, I don't know. Pretty obscure character at the very least. But maybe TDK is a reference to The Dark Knight. I don't actually know.
That would be pretty funny.
I'll have to look into that.
The alicorn swallowed the lump in her throat. Any wrong word and Sombra would most likely kill Aeon. Even then, what's to stop him from moving on to her or even Sunset? No, she had to keep everyone alive. She had to keep Sunset safe.
Then I'll stay with you.
Twilight?
Sunset shrieked. It was instinctual, coming out like a primal screech of pain. That really did sound pained.
Look, man, I know it did. I deserve an Oscar.
Let the others go, and I'll be with you for as long as I live.
Twilight slowly made her way towards Sombra.
Besides, would you rather spend eternity with the Princess of Equestria or some stuffy bureaucrat?
Ugh. Yeah,
This time,
I think that's an easy choice.
yeah, stuffy bureaucrat.
Love them.
This time, there was no hesitation, only selfless bravado. Sombra snarled.
What keeps me from killing her and keeping you prisoner? Brr.
Nothing.
Twilight nearly choked on her own breath.
I
It was
feel that.
true. It was true, as much as she didn't want to admit it. She had no other cards to play.
Nothing keeps us alive either. Whether you kill us or if we do it ourselves, you'll still be alone forever.
After a few seconds of ear-splitting silence, a metallic clink followed. Releasing Aeon, the same chains captured Twilight not a second longer. She let her scream before immediately holding it back, attempting to put out a brave face. She could feel the dark energy burning at her skin.
Go.
Sombra ordered, his voice low.
Before I change my mind.
Aeon nodded, gasping for breath before scrambling away from Sombra. She crawled on the ground, her newfound pony legs failing her for a moment. She frantically punched buttons on her own dimensional teleporter.
Man, Aeon's
Sunset,
a
however-
wuss.
No, she's gonna push Sombra through the portal.
Just such a wuss. Fight him with your hands or hooves, baby.
Sunset, however, made her way closer to Twilight. She paid no attention to Sombra nor Aeon. She needed to talk some sense into Twilight.
Twilight. Wait, I don't need to do that. Twilight.
Sunset sighed.
Please, don't do this.
The alicorn shook her head.
I have to. It's the only thing that keeps Aeon alive and you safe. Just promise me. Take the TPT and get as far away as you can. Don't let Aeon find you, and don't come back for me.
Sunset nuzzled her friend's face, holding back a choked sob.
It's a talisman.
Twilight let out a weak laugh.
Always defiant.
Sunset nodded.
I'm coming back for you too.
I know.
Without another word, Sunset activated the talisman and disappeared into the portal. Aeon immediately followed in a portal of her own.
Upstream error.
Sunset found herself on the side of a cliff, staring off into the distance as the sun began to rest on the horizon. A purple glow filled the sky, and the stars began to wake from their slumber. The wind blew at her hair, and she could smell the ocean not too far away.
Twilight would have loved this,
she thought. Not too long after, another portal appeared with Aeon stepping out.
Sunset Shimmer of Dimension C-45-H. You are under arrest.
Have they mentioned that it was Dimension C-45-H yet?
I think so.
Have we mentioned that it spells out cash?
That does sound familiar.
Okay.
Johnny Cash.
Turns out he's the key to all of this.
Johnny Cash versus David Bowie. Let's go.
Ooh.
You are under arrest by order of the Accord for several counts of illegal multiversal travel, resisting arrest, and assaulting an officer of the Accord. I don't care.
Aeon stepped closer, her boots softly padding against the lush grass.
Do not attempt to resist. I am authorized to use lethal force if necessary. It's over. I don't care.
Sunset sat down cross-legged. She pulled out a long blade of grass and folded it between her fingers.
Just let me look at the sky for just a little longer. It's the least you can do after Twilight gave herself up for you. Get up.
Screw Aeon.
Aeon? More like a nassle.
Ooh, that's so good.
Thank you. I came up with it myself.
Aeon ordered. Then the device on her arm began to whine again. Power had restored. She held up her hand and a radiant red glow began to emanate.
I won't ask again.
Sunset kept staring off at the horizon. At the sunset.
Is it sunsetting?
I hope so. That would be really funny.
Give me 1 second, Wizzy. Jesus. Trying to figure out if the sun is setting.
I think it's pretty much already set for you, right?
It says a purple glow filled the sky, and the stars began to wake from their slumber. So yeah, I guess it's sunset. Or right after.
She's activating her special mode. It's going to be like the clock ticks, sunset o'clock, and suddenly, daylight star girl, I forget her name.
I think it's like daylight shimmer, boom, whatever, I don't know.
Her super form is activated. Sunset kept staring off at the horizon. Aeon forced Sunset back up into a standing position. She pried away the still-charging talisman and stuffed it in her own jacket, and without a word, she slapped a pair of handcuffs onto Sunset and jerked her backwards towards the cliff.
Ugh, the fucking man.
Sunset couldn't even say anything about the loss of the talisman. All she could think of was Twilight's face just before she stepped through the portal. With a few clicks of her own teleporter, another portal opened. Wasting no time, Aeon shoved Sunset into the wormhole and followed. Sunset could smell coffee. She looked around the room. It was gray, stuffy. The sound of shuffling paperwork stung her ears like oral paper cuts. She watched as many interdimensional police officers hurried around the station. They all paid her no attention. After all this talk of breaking laws in Aeon's ruthless chase, She was just another prisoner on a busy workday.
This is basically just the Marvel Disney Plus television series Loki.
I was gonna say, but I wasn't certain if you had seen that yet.
I've only seen the first season, but yeah, it's basically that.
I only saw like the first 2 episodes.
Oh, okay.
But I remembered that scene. Sounds just like it. Sighing, she held her head back and looked up at the ceiling. She counted the tiles. Then she counted them again. She counted the amount of complete squares the tiles made. 164. And then watched a man unsuccessfully flirt with his coworker around the water cooler.
Oof.
This was all she could do at the moment. She was completely powerless. Not to mention that Twilight needed her help. This was her hell. A familiar sound of clicking boots made Sunset whip her head towards the source. Aeon walked toward the corner, carrying a paper cup of water. She was clean again, wearing a clean version of her outfit and a brand new pair of glasses. Aside from the soot-stained boots, there was no evidence that Aeon had been writhing in the ashes of the dimension where they had ran into Sombra. And that smirk, it made Sunset want to leap out from her chair and punch Aeon in the face.
You've broken a lot of laws.
That sounded Australian.
That did a bit.
I kind of like Australian Bowie.
Hello, I'm Australian David Bowie. I can't.
Aeon said. Her voice was cold. Sunset didn't say anything back. Instead, choosing to stare at the ground and count the floor tiles, Aeon crossed her arms.
The Accord director wants you for questioning. You should be honored. She almost never deals with miscreants like you. I'm imagining her, like, pinching her cheeks like a dick.
Troublemakers like you. Sunset balled her fists.
Here,
Aeon said, holding the cup of water to Sunset's mouth.
You're dehydrated. What does it matter?
Sunset spat.
You're going to kill me anyway.
Aeon shook her head.
We still have your trial, which could take weeks to determine a date, and then the court has to decide when to carry out your inevitable sentence.
Sunset nudged the cup away with her nose.
And what about Twilight? Are you just going to leave her there?
Aeon nodded, dropping eye contact for the first time in the conversation.
There's nothing I can do. We're forbidden entry to that dimension. I wasn't aware it was banned until I came back and found it in the hostile universe files. She's gone. I'm going to save her.
Sunset said with an air of confidence. You know, Aeon kind of seemed like they were, or I guess like she was, to the book, I guess. And then it turns out that she just accidentally goes to this dimension that she's really not supposed to and almost dies until Twilight saves her.
Yeah. Aeon's kind of a klutz.
Turns out she's a phony.
Yeah, too. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. Why do you care for her so much?
Aeon asked. She sat down next to Sunset.
There's a million different versions of her. Not her. She's different.
Sunset said.
She's mine. Mine.
And Ross would have you believe that this isn't romantic at all.
What? I've been shipping those two nonstop this fanfiction.
Oh, so you
were the one who
on
said that
that.
you didn't ship them.
I did not. Did I say that?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember saying that.
Pretty sure 2 SunLight sliders ago he said it.
I may have been like, these two, like one of these characters would work well with this other character that was introduced, but there's no way that I was like anti-SunLight. In SunLight sliders, no less.
No, I'm pretty sure you were. It could have been a different story, though. To be fair, we did record them in bulk. It's kind of hard to keep track of them sometimes.
These were all recorded in one day, the past 4 episodes.
Gosh, I wish. Wouldn't that have been fun?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Chapter 17, The Albino Corn. Charges. 1 count of illegal construction of space-altering devices. A voice both stern yet jaded said. She clearly had been through this routine many times. Sunset just stared at the silver desk she stood upon. She could hear Twilight's frustrated groans and cries of jubilation during the time they spent creating their portal talisman. 13 counts of illegal interdimensional travel. And every world had been its own level of bizarre. So many places, so many people, so many sights, and Twilight had been with her through all of it. Is that a thinking?
A universal constant.
Assaulting an officer.
She started it.
Sunset thought bitterly. Yes, their journey had been dangerous at points, but she and Twilight had been completely fine until Aeon showed up. They were almost home, too. A few more jumps. Now, Twilight sat chained in a hell that used to be sweet Equestria, while Sunset stood here, waiting to be told she would die. Resisting arrest! Aeon had entered the director's room with Sunset. She stood alone in an office that finally lived up to her expectations of interdimensional police officers. It curved outward like a crescent moon. Chrome paint with odd symbols covered the wall that stretched behind Sunset. A large glass window made up the wall in front of her, giving a stunning view of space. Thousands upon thousands of stars glittered in front of her, shimmering dust thrown into a black canvas.
Twilight would have loved this too.
Assisting a known universal criminal!
Okay, she lost me now.
Sunset had enough to hold her tongue. Or perhaps she had moved beyond the point of caring. What did it matter? The director's room had reverted her back to her equine form, yet her front hooves remained bound, and an inhibitor ring around her horn locked her magic. The talisman was who knows where by now. She had only emptiness, a void left behind by Twilight that ate at her, feasting on whatever passion and drive had once motivated her. This was it, her journey's end. And finally, unauthorized access to restricted dimensions. Sunset repressed her urge to scream out the last of her rage, anger, and vitriol before she died. Instead, she glared up defiantly at the desk floating on a second silver disc just up in front of her. Jet black with gold trimming and nothing on top save for a gold nameplate that read Stella Nova. That's what my nameplate reads.
Whoa, what a coincidence.
Yeah. Its occupant sat in an equally black chair, back still turned to Sunset as she read off the crimes. All things considered, it's not the worst I've seen from you, Stella Nova said. She turned her chair around, revealing the bizarrest creature Sunset had seen yet. Stella's skin was milk white on her right half and pitch black on the left with crisscrossed lipstick. Her gray hair was pulled up with a neat bun. Above it floated a metal halo that flickered different colors every few seconds. She leaned her head into her right hand and looked at Sunset with lidded gray eyes. So, how do you plead, Sunset Shimmer?
I would hate for a judge to use that voice on me when asking how I plead.
How do you plead, buddy? Ha! Did you know that I also do kickflips at the skate park?
That is possibly the scariest thing you could hear from a judge, frankly. Scariest type of voice a judge could do.
I think I'm going to leave the decision up to the skate gods.
Hold on, okay. I guess you don't have to.
That's how I really wish Sunset actually got out of this, was because the judge was super radical and decided that she actually just deserved to live.
That would be cool. I like that idea. Yeah, let's go, judge.
Did she choose now to make a last stand? Argue her point? That she and Twilight had not been aware these dimensional laws even existed and that they just wanted to go home? It hadn't worked on Aeon, and if Sunset had to guess, this woman would be even stricter. Sunset slackened her shoulders and sighed.
Guilty. We didn't mean to cause any harm. We just wanted to explore the multiverse. Then we wanted to go home.
Her throat caught and tears stung her eyes. She would die before ever seeing home again, and Twilight would languish in hell. Stella seemed to scribble on the paper with her finger. Ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure Aeon's already told you that one.
This is so stupid. These laws are idiotic. I hate the ignorance of the law is no excuse for breaking it. Sure, sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's no excuse.
Something like murder, but...
This is insane. What harm did they actually do?
It's like You guys should probably make yourselves known to the multiverse if you want people to follow your laws.
Yeah,
That's simple.
exactly.
Sunset took a second look at Stella's face. While it looked flawless, upon closer inspection, Sunset could see the bags under her eyes. Either this woman was very bored, very tired, or both.
Or she was smoking that. Whatever, however that people would slang that.
Upon closer inspection, she noticed the doobie hanging out of the side of Stella's mouth.
Hell yeah.
Told you she was radical.
I know I said that earlier, the earlier thing about the judge and using that voice, but yes, if that was my judge, I would be like, fuck yeah, this judge is dope. Like, and I don't even support smoking of any kind, but this judge is my kind of judge.
It's like, yes, they're definitely going to acquit me.
Also, if anyone wants to know, you probably shouldn't listen to me when it comes to smoking. So don't worry. I'm not the ultimate. You can keep smoking if you want, guys.
I think Ross should start smoking nicotine specifically because of the asthma.
Oh, Jesus.
I think it would cure it.
You know what? You're not the first person I've heard say that. The other person also wasn't a doctor, so...
There's nicotine companies.
What a coincidence.
That definitely sounds like something that like old cigarette commercials would push. Like,
Probably.
Oh, my asthma went away in days after smoking Marlboro.
Your life would go away.
My life went away in the blink of an eye.
No, that sounds like an anti-smoking ad.
Could also picture that. Need like a, Actually, never mind. This is getting way too off topic.
Yeah, maybe well, I mean, we're saying that in this show. Have you seen the past few episodes?
True.
Now you want out again?
She turned her chair to the side and looked out at the stars. Sunset shimmer. When a world discovers the power to break through the barriers between worlds, they usually only do it with one world, giving us ample time to go in and meet with them. We offer them a chance to join our task force, or destroy their machines and tell them not to do it again. She swiveled her chair back to Sunset, eyes wide with aggravation. But you two, one little device, and you go galloping through the multivore. And you go galloping through the multi... What was that?
You said the multivore.
I was going to say vorse, but...
Oh, what a perfect thing to say for a fan fiction that's being meta about fan fiction. Specifically in this community. Of course, it would be more apt for the furry community, but you know.
They should have had her and Twilight go to like a vor dimension where they have to like run away from the creatures trying to eat them.
Oh, God. You're a monster, Wizzy.
No, that I'm running away from the monsters trying to eat me. But you two, one little device and you go galloping through the multiverse like it's a carnival. Every time. Sunset cocked her head.
Every time?
So they're like counting each different version of Twilight and Sunset doing this as like them personally doing it?
I guess so.
That is like it's some kind of discrimination, right? Like clonophobia?
Oh, 100%.
Stella leaned back in her chair and massaged her temple. Do you know how many Sunsets and or Twilight sparkles have stood in my office? I don't give Twilight the full name, but not Sunset. 120, including you. Sometimes quivering, sometimes
you said
defiant.
120? It's 170.
Oh, that was like a weird kind of dyslexia or something.
Gotta get that checked out, man. They gotta fix you.
Gotta fix me.
You're broken, Wizzy.
Where are my normal pills? Dream through them all out. 170, including you. Sometimes quivering, sometimes defiant, sometimes dying,
Jesus.
Sometimes as heroes. But every time there was one of you, there was always another somewhere around.
This is fucked up. Universal
clonophobia.
Constants.
Sunset's heart fluttered for a moment, then died again. Whatever she felt for Twilight was in vain. They would not be together now. Sunset hated herself for not saying something sooner. All of the signs had been there. They always had been there. Ever since Twilight had reached a hand out to pull Sunset from her darkest moment, as much as she tried to push it away, Sunset knew they couldn't be just friends. But out there somewhere was another Twilight and Sunset. Maybe that Sunset wouldn't make the same mistake. Stella grumbled.
I used to believe that universal constants were a myth.
I used to believe that universal theme parks were a myth.
Hundreds of millions of universes, all made by different choices, all headed in different directions. Of course, some things would overlap, but every time there is a sunset shimmer, there is a twilight sparkle. So maybe, just maybe, constants do exist.
There's going to be one version of this where it's like a lone Twilight who's like embittered, and then they're like, "Where's your sunset?" And she's like, "Who?"
Oh no.
The soft tone in her voice sparked something in Sunset's dying heart. Did she dare to hope? Stella straightened up and folded her hands.
Frankly, Miss Shimmer, I grow tired of this game. Sending someone to hunt you two down whenever a version of you makes that blasted portal device. I'm going to have to find a way to cut it at the source. In the meantime, I also grow tired of seeing you in my courtroom and having to send you to be executed.
How many times, Jesus?
Oh, God. That's so mean.
Yeah, I think,
It's
manners
God.
much?
Fuckers. I hate them.
Well, you're both pains in my rear end.
A ghost of a smile passed her lips.
You're both brilliant and always trying to do the right thing.
She leaned forward.
So I'm going to cut you a deal.
Hope roared to life in Sunset. She straightened her back and met Stella with a look of rekindled determination. If it meant saving Twilight, she'd do anything. The ghost smile traced Stella's lips again.
I will let you go and provide you with the means to return to hell and save your beloved.
Return to hell? I'm sorry, did they ever call it hell before this?
Yep, several times, actually.
Well, they said it was like a hell.
No, they said hell. Straight up.
Really, they did?
Yep, several times, actually.
I thought they just like called it a different dimension.
No.
They actually just called it straight alone hell?
Yeah.
Don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
Also, going to hell to save your beloved? Oof, ain't that a trope?
A
What the hell is the myth that Hades Town is based off of?
Snorpheus and Eurydice.
Yeah, that's the one. Or at least one of those.
I will let you go and provide you with the means to return to hell and save your beloved, as well as drop all charges against both of you under 2 conditions.
She held up a white finger.
1, you two must stop and or apprehend the prisoner you helped release.
What prison?
Sunset's blood ran ice cold, stalling the fire within her.
Tarek.
She whispered.
I guess that's what they did.
When did they do that?
Oh, it was like a couple years ago.
Oh,
It
man.
was much earlier on this. It was like the second or third one of these we did.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's been waiting for a while. I didn't even think they would get back to it in this one, honestly. I thought that was going to be like a teaser for the next one, maybe. I don't know.
Stella gave a grim nod.
Thanks to your meddling, he created his own device and is now gallivanting across worlds, stealing all the magic he can before hopping somewhere else. My men can hardly keep up. So, since you released him, you'll put him back. Or kill him. I don't care which at this point.
Sunset swallowed her rising fear.
Nope. And the second condition?
Upon returning to your world, you will destroy your portal device and all related portal materials and research, including the prototype mirror-linking Equestria Prime to Earth Beta 5 limited access or not. It's getting on my nerves.
A wave of despair drowned out the flickering fire of hope. No more connection between Equestria and the human world? She and Twilight would have to pick one world and stay there forever. Twilight would most certainly choose Equestria, but what about Sunset? Which world could she settle down in?
Look, I'm just gonna say it. No, I shipped those two and all that, but it's the human world. You gotta do the human world for Sunset. That's her dimension. That's her world.
Originally, she was from Equestria, too.
Yeah, and that's stupid. Well, it's not stupid that she was from Equestria. But if she chooses Equestria, she's an idiot. Not her, but
What if they both choose hell?
You know what? Good point.
And they team up and make Somber their slave.
Yeah, I guess so. That works.
She shook her head, and the fire rose again. Twilight was the only thing that mattered right now. Giving up a world would sting, maybe even break her heart. But to save Twilight, her Twilight, the girl who had given her a new life, Sunset would sacrifice anything.
Deal,
she said firmly. Stella rolled her eyes. Of course. She snapped her black hand, and the restraints on Sunset's hooves fell off. She gingerly rubbed them together.
You don't expect me to survive, do you?
I'm sending you to hell and after a magic-sucking demon. Of course not. Even if you do, I will be there to personally ensure your devices are destroyed. Either way, I'll have one less pair to deal with. Stella turned her chair to the window and waved her hand.
Apparently Stella can just jump around all willy-nilly.
No, has she been?
No, but she could, apparently.
Oh,
that's
mean,
what
like
I got
teleporting to find them there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably has like some awesome portal powers.
Or the same device.
No,
that
I
Ayoon
think it's
uses.
probably magical powers.
Okay.
Now get out of my sight. As always, your hair offends me.
I'll kill her. I'll fucking kill her. She's gonna die. I'm gonna murder her.
No, she didn't know what she meant.
I'll fucking strangle her. Get over here, you.
Yo? That's the end of the chapter. And now I look at the comments, and the second and third top comment are Ross.
Oh my god. I had to scroll down to the bottom because I have it set to newest, I think. Oh no, I have it set to oldest. So, everybody, I know you were probably expecting 3 chapters, and I'm sorry, guys. I really am. You deserve 3 chapters, but we're not giving it to you. You got a big ol' episode last week. That was fun. I assume it's big. Wizzy might have trimmed the shit out of it, for all I know.
I got rid of at least 3 major plot points. It's very hard to tell what's going on.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was already hard to tell what was going on. That one. So, yeah, that was SunLight Sliders, chapters 16 and 17. What do we think, Wizzy?
I think that we are ending actually on the perfect chapter, because that was like such a good cliffhanger sort of thing to wrap it up with.
That was. A lot of these have pretty great cliffhangers, though.
Yeah, I think it's how the different authors are working together is working really well to have it ensured that they set it up for the next author to start on.
Yeah.
Which works really well for their readers.
Definitely. I'm enjoying it. None of these chapters have been particularly bad at all, and that's pretty impressive with all the authors working on it.
Right?
Yeah, you would think.
I think there's been like a couple that were mediocre.
Yeah.
But
like there are some, not going to name any names because I don't remember which ones, that I would say were of lesser quality, I suppose, but
that's true with any story, you know?
You know, I don't know if they were specifically of lesser quality or if they were just not my type of writing style.
That's fair.
But yeah, the point is I am, really loving it. Very curious. I don't think Ayoon is actually particularly anybody anymore. I don't think she matters. I think she was just a fucking cop.
A cab includes Ayoon.
Ayoon cops are bastards. What if I said Ayoon cops are bad and that's just what I thought that acronym was? Although I guess, I don't know, I have seen some people use that acronym for that, but
I think I actually have too.
I guess, if you don't want to use the word bastard, that kind of makes sense.
Fox News is just like, it stands for all cops are babies. They're calling them whiny babies to instigate violence.
They would say that, though. But yeah, well, I didn't expect to be this cop-hating, but it was funny how I introduced the episode as an anarchist. And I'm not an anarchist, by the way. I'm close, but not that far.
Just like an anarchist.
If y'all want to know more about my political beliefs, look at my podcast, Discussing Political Ideologies with Ross Pitt Shark Hunter, a philosophical discussion of political ideologies, as you might have guessed. It doesn't exist, but now I want to make it.
Let's listen to Philosophy from Philly on the Penguin Wizards channel, where we discuss all sorts of political ideology.
That is so far from my political opinions nowadays.
I feel like I would have said things so differently when I rewatched that.
Yep. I am like,
it's so fun.
Oh God, I said that? That is not a thing that I believe at all. If you ever do go listen to that, I am not that person anymore. For better or for worse, whatever you think.
Almost underage when we recorded that, actually.
Yeah, I think so. So do you want to insult babies? If you do, you're kind of a monster.
Monsters don't even insult babies. Think about how nice those Sesame Street monsters are to the babies.
Poor people. And thank you all for listening. SunLight Sliders is good. Go read it, I guess. Oh, and next time, it's time, Wizzy.
What does that
mean? For the continuation of this Celestia code. We're not going to be finishing it,
Celestia.
Though. What a shame.
Be my witness.
Celestia. I love Celestia. All right, guys. Good night. Praise be to her. Celestia, that is.
Bye.
Twilight would have loved this. Twilight would have loved this.
Sorry, I was just finishing my lemonade.
Twilight would have loved this. Twilight would have loved this.
She thought